Welcome to Real People Weekly News. I am Danielle. Over the next few minutes, we will look at the top stories of the past week, stories that made news, and give you a glimpse of what the party has been up to. Let's begin with the top stories. For the week of August 21st to the 26th, we saw the following. Wheel and come again. Mark Golding urges Prime Minister Andrew Holness to rethink changes to NHT subsidy policy. Opposition leader Mark Golding is urging Prime Minister Andrew Holness to reverse the government's decision to end interest rate subsidies for specific categories of contributors to the National Housing Trust.
Each of those categories were entitled to borrow money from the NHT at a discounted rate of interest up until this week, I think Thursday, when the Andrew Holness-led government took away those benefits from them.
I am calling on the Prime Minister to wheel and come again and reverse this change to the benefits that were given to the persons with disabilities, public sector workers, and persons of 55 and over, Golding said last week Saturday while addressing the People's National Party's Manchester Northwestern Constituency Conference in Mile Gully. With the recent double murder and shooting that took place at a party earlier this month in Greenville, leaders there are calling for more resources to tackle crime in this South Central parish. Members of Parliament for Manchester Northwestern, Michael Phillips, and Chairman of the Manchester Peace Coalition, Dr. Clifton Reid, said there have been social intervention initiatives over the years targeting young people in Greenville. Phillips is calling on the government to invest more in social intervention. We know the communities that need the intervention, and it needs to come from central government itself. We have to relook at how it is that we approach crime. We have done a lot of work in the community of Greenville, Phillips said. Yes, we have seen an uptick in shootings. We have held it down for years. We continue our social intervention through music, sports, community meetings, and the church. The police themselves have given a lot of service in keeping Greenville peaceful. I hope they get to the bottom of the shootings that have taken place. Both Phillips and Dr. Reid have been instrumental in pushing for the use of a music studio targeting young people in Greenville. General Secretary for the People's National Party, Dr. Dayton Campbell, made it clear that the Andrew Holness-led administration is out of ideas as it relates to current challenges facing the country, including price increases, housing costs, and professionals leaving Jamaica.
And I want to tell the Deputy Mayor to be here. Doctors and nurses and police to be working less than what a man working on a garbage truck in the state, and when he get up and go where to make life better for his family, you have the nerve to call him coward? You're out of order.
He also went on to question the massive price difference in homes being built by the government versus private developers in northwestern St. Anne.
So how is it possible that in Northwest St. Anne, HHJ building houses for $30 million for a 2-bedroom and Gore building houses for $18 million? The government building houses for $30 million and the private developer building the same 2-bedroom for $18 million. This government does not care about the people of this country.
Opposition leader Mark Golding has asked that the Prime Minister use existing mechanisms for crime consensus. In Mile Gully at last Saturday's People's National Party's Manchester Northwestern Constituency Conference, Golding said,
I hear the Prime Minister the other day talking about the need for consensus on crime. It's easy to say things like that, you know, but you have to be prepared to walk the walk. I've been calling for the Royal talks to be a mechanism by which we can discuss issues of importance to the country. It's one time I meet with Andrew Holness since I became leader of the opposition in November 2020. One meeting for the Royal talks in February this year. And since then we're hearing nothing about it.
He stated that the Crime Management and Oversight Committee, CMOC, which is the mechanism for consensus around national security, had also been given scant attention by the government.
The private sector groups are on it. The opposition is on it, the government is on it. But I hear Minister Chan stop come to the meetings. Months and months and months, it's like them boycotting the consensus mechanism. So you're talking about you want consensus, and when the mechanism for consensus is there and you're not attending the meetings.
PNP councillor candidate calls for increased police presence in St. Mary Western. Councillor candidates for the Gale Division in Western St. Mary, Giovanni Byfield, is calling on the Minister of National Security and the Jamaica Constabulary Force to increase policing in the division. His call follows the gruesome murder of retired teacher Dennis Matar Edwards. Edwards, a businessman and retired teacher, was fatally shot while walking along the Gale Main Road at about 1:15 in the afternoon on Monday. Byfield expressed condolences to the family and loved ones of Mr. Edwards. Councillor candidate Byfield went on to say,
one of the major issues facing the Gale Police Division is that there's only one service vehicle for all 63 communities, and that is unacceptable. When you go in the town of Gale, you almost never see a foot patrol or any police visibility in the town, right? No protection for the business community from the JCF. At the time of this incident, there were no police vehicle at the station. A private car carried the police to the scene, and a private car carried the deceased to the clinic. And there were only 2 police at the station, a young female district constable and a next young police. And that is unacceptable. And I am reaching out, I'm asking the Jamaica Constabulary Force to do more to protect or to police the areas of Gale and its communities, and to protect the business community of Gale.
White House residents welcomed the back-to-school health fair. Approximately 160 students benefited from the fair, which was conceptualized in 2014 by Lambs River native medical practitioner Dr. Glenville Hall Jr., who saw it as a way to give back. Hall declared that he is a doctor today because he benefited from a scholarship to study medicine in Cuba, and it was provided by the People's National Party. Dr. Hall and fellow scholarship recipient Dr. Nicole Campbell provided medical care during the fair, which was organized by Councillor candidate and Justice of the Peace Michael Jackson, PNP White House Division. A team from the Patriots of Westmoreland Region 6 also provided support during the event last week. Honestly, this medical fair put on by Mr. Jackson is a good one because most parents could not have afforded to go to the private doctor. It saved me about $8,000 because it is 2 of my children who did health checks at the fair, the mother said with a smile. Member of Parliament Michael Phillips has blasted the government for playing politics with infrastructure, asserting that little to no attention is being directed to opposition-led constituencies. Phillips went on to say,
we have a bridge up in Troy. This month make 1 year that bridge collapse. School starting next week. Majority of the students that live on the Manchester side transfer to schools in St. Elizabeth.
Acting Works Minister Everald Warmington said months ago that there was no money in the budget to fix the bridge earlier. The opposition ups ante on the teacher migration crisis. At his constituency conference last Sunday, Member of Parliament for St. Andrew South Eastern Julian Robinson stated that Education Minister Favour Williams-Head remains in the sand. He has said that it is time for the government to step in and address the unfolding teacher migration crisis. He said that this is the #1 issue facing the country only 2 weeks before the start of the new school year. Robinson revealed that almost 24 teachers have resigned from Campion College. He noted teachers of science, 2 English, 1 math, and another for Spanish from a second institution have resigned and are set to leave the island for teaching jobs overseas. Now I want to say to the government, take your head out of the sand. Stop behaving like nothing going on. We have a crisis, and 2 weeks before school starts, these principals cannot hire replacement teachers on time. Continuing on the current teacher migration debacle, we saw former People's National Party Senator and current Deputy Gensec Wentworth Skeffrey saying that Education Minister Favour Williams should be fired over what he claims is her incompetent handling of the crisis, stemming from the migration of teachers to lucrative job overseas. She has no clue, he said.
So I called on Jones tonight because he was a former Minister of Education. He never could know, but he could be better than the one we have now. To rescue the education system, save our children, and get to the Favour Williams right now and put the competence in the Ministry of Education.
He pleaded to the Prime Minister at the party's Manchester North Western Constituency Conference at the Mile Gully Primary School last Saturday. Member of Parliament for Western St Andrew Anthony Hilton has reissued his call for the government to address the routine cleanup of Sandy Gully and to do so quickly. In a release from the People's National Party, PNP, Hilton stated that he was gravely concerned about the recent discoveries of human remains that had been dumped in the gully. He went on to say that he has been calling for this cleanup of the appalling state of the gully for at least the last 5 years. He went on to say the finding of bodies in the gully over the last few weeks has heightened the concerns of the citizens of Seaview Gardens, Riverton Meadows, and surrounding communities that the garbage-filled gully, which drains the upper reaches of St Andrew, is becoming a favourite place for more than refuse to be dumped. Hilton once again called for the government to act speedily to clean up what has now become a clear and present danger to the communities, the livelihood of fisherfolk in the Hunts Bay, the port of Kingston, and the environment. The opposition spokesman of Transports and Works, Michael Phillips, Member of Parliament, is warning of a pending crisis and severe chaos in the commuter movement for the start of a new academic year, now just a week away. The opposition spokesman said the bus runout at the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, has rapidly declined over the summer holidays. He stated,
the bus rollout for this school year is going to be a half of what it was last year. When the PNP administration left office in 2016, there were approximately 400 buses in the fleet. We are now looking at 110, 112 buses in the current fleet of the JUTC.
Phillips further said,
and what we expect is that there's going to be chaos on the streets for students to be moved from home to school and from school to home. So the government needs to respond, and we'd love to hear what is in place from the Minister of Transport that will deal with the current situation at the JUTC and the current situation in the transport sector.
PNP pledges to reverse Prime Minister's regressive NHT policy when back in power. Senator Dr. Floyd Morris is joining Leader of the Opposition Mark Golding in a pledge to reverse the Prime Minister's regressive National Housing Trust policy when the PNP returns to office. The party will reinstate the subsidy on interest rates for certain contributors at the National Housing Trust. Senator Dr. Floyd Morris stated, the future of People's National Party administration will undergo a thorough review of the regressive policy decision of removing the subsidy on interest rates for civil servants, police, teachers, persons with disabilities, persons over 55 years of age, and others. This retrograde policy, according to Senator Morris, is unconscionable and unjust because these groups have never been properly compensated or recognized by society for the tremendous work they do. He also shared that offering them the subsidy on interest rate is just one legitimate means of demonstrating or appreciation for their work and efforts.
And with that, we wrap up the last week on Real People Weekly News.